Sarah Chen wiped the sweat from her brow as she descended deeper into the abandoned quarry, her boots crunching against loose gravel. The setting sun cast long shadows across the rocky walls, transforming the industrial wasteland into something almost alien. At 17, she'd already earned a reputation as the go-to mechanic in New Haven Colony, though most clients conveniently forgot her age once she fixed their supposedly irreparable equipment. The quarry had been her sanctuary for years. While other teenagers spent their evenings in the colony's entertainment district, Sarah preferred the quiet company of discarded machinery. Here, among the ruins of humanity's mining operations, she could work without judgment or interruption. The colony's elite might whisper about the odd girl who spoke to machines, but they couldn't deny her talent. Her detector chirped softly, a sound that usually indicated valuable salvage nearby. Sarah adjusted the crude device, built from spare parts and determination. The signal grew stronger as she approached a recent rockslide. Something beneath those stones was emitting an unusual energy signature, unlike anything her detector had encountered before. Hours passed as Sarah carefully cleared the debris. The sun had long since set when her hand brushed against something smooth and cool, definitely not rock. She switched on her work lights, and her breath caught in her throat. Partially buried in the quarry floor was a seamless metallic sphere about the size of a car, its surface marked with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. "Well," Sarah whispered to herself, "you're definitely not from around here." The sphere hummed faintly as she ran her fingers along its surface. The patterns brightened at her touch, pulsing with a soft blue light. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. This wasn't salvage from the mining operations. This was something else entirely. Something that predated human presence on this world. She worked through the night, setting up a makeshift workshop around the sphere. Her tools looked primitive compared to the artifact's advanced technology, but Sarah had learned long ago that understanding mechanical principles mattered more than having fancy equipment. The sphere's surface was unlike any material she'd encountered, but it responded to electrical currents in predictable ways. Dawn was breaking when she finally located what appeared to be an access panel. The patterns shifted and realigned as she applied a carefully calibrated electromagnetic pulse. With a soft hiss, a section of the sphere's surface became translucent, revealing a complex array of crystalline structures within. "Fascinating," a voice said behind her. "I've never seen a human interface with quantum architecture so intuitively." Sarah spun around, nearly dropping her tools. Standing at the edge of her workspace was a tall, slender figure. Its iridescent skin shifted colors like oil on water, and its four eyes blinked in an unsettling rhythm. An alien. Sarah had seen pictures in the colony's databases, but never in person. First contact had occurred decades ago, but relations remained cautious and diplomatic visits were rare. "I'm not interfacing with anything," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm just fixing it. Or trying to." The alien's mouthparts twitched in what might have been a smile. "That's precisely what I mean. This technology isn't meant to be fixed by conventional means. It's a quantum consciousness transfer device, or at least it was. Now it's dormant, waiting." Sarah looked back at the sphere, her mind processing this new information. "Waiting for what?" "For someone like you," the alien said. "Someone who can understand its basic principles without being overwhelmed by its complexity. I am Dr. Zixtal, lead researcher of the Interstellar Archaeological Institute. I've been tracking this artifact for 3 years. Sarah's eyes narrowed. "If you're a researcher, where's your team? Your equipment?" "My colleagues." Zixtal's skin darkened momentarily. "They believed this device was too dangerous to reactivate, that its original purpose was weapons research. They couldn't see past their fears to recognize its true nature, which is a repository of knowledge, a bridge between species and civilizations, but more than that, a key to understanding consciousness itself." The alien moved closer, its movements liquid smooth. "I've observed you for the past few hours. You possess an extraordinary gift. the ability to intuit complex systems through direct interaction. It's rare among any species. Sarah should have been frightened, should have reported the alien's presence to colony security. Instead, she felt a familiar excitement building. The same feeling she got when confronting a particularly challenging repair job. "So what exactly do you want from me?" she asked. "Your help," Zixtal replied. "Together, we could unlock the device's secrets. But we must work quickly. Others will have detected its partial activation by now." Sarah looked at her tools, then at the slowly pulsing sphere, and finally at the alien researcher. Her whole life, she'd been searching for something more than simple repairs, a challenge worthy of her abilities. Now the universe had quite literally dropped one in her lap. "I have conditions," she said firmly. "I work my way, at my pace. You tell me everything you know about this device. No holding back information. And if at any point I think this is too dangerous, we stop. Deal?" Zixtal's skin rippled with bands of bright color. "Your terms are acceptable. Though I should warn you, once we begin, events may move faster than either of us anticipate." Sarah grinned, already reaching for her toolkit. "Story of my life. Let's see what this thing can do." As if in response, the sphere's patterns began to pulse more rapidly, casting dancing shadows across the quarry walls. Sarah felt a familiar certainty settling over her, the calm that came with facing a complex problem armed with nothing but intelligence and determination. Whatever this device was, whatever its true purpose might be, she would unlock its secrets. After all, fixing the impossible was what she did best. The quantum device's crystalline interior pulsed with increasing frequency as Sarah connected the final diagnostic probe. She'd been working with Dr. Zixtal for 3 days straight, sleeping in shifts on a cot beside her workstation. The alien researcher had proven to be a wealth of information, though Sarah suspected there was still much being left unsaid. "The quantum matrix is stabilizing," Zixtal observed, multiple eyes fixed on the holographic readouts floating above the sphere. "The consciousness imprint is becoming more coherent." Sarah adjusted her interface setup, a jury-rigged combination of colonial tech and salvaged alien components. "You keep talking about consciousness, but I still don't understand. Is this thing alive?" "Not in the biological sense," Zixtal's skin rippled thoughtfully. "Think of it as an echo of awareness, preserved in quantum states. The beings who created this device discovered a way to encode consciousness itself into crystalline matrices." "But why?" Sarah's hands moved instinctively across her equipment, making micro-adjustments based on the device's responses. "What's the point of preserving consciousness if it can't actually do anything?" The alien researcher moved closer, bioluminescent patterns shifting across their skin. "Who says it can't?" Before Sarah could respond, the sphere emitted a high-pitched tone. The crystalline structures within began to resonate, creating complex geometric patterns of light. Sarah reached for her toolkit, but Zixtal caught her arm. "Wait," the alien said. "Watch." The patterns coalesced into a swirling vortex of light, and suddenly Sarah felt a presence brush against her mind. Alien yet somehow familiar. It felt like the moment just before solving a complex mechanical problem, when all the pieces aligned in perfect clarity. "Hello, Sarah Chen," a voice echoed in her thoughts. It wasn't sound, exactly, but pure concept translated into understanding. "Thank you for awakening me." Sarah stumbled backward, her heart racing. "What? How are you in my head?" "The quantum matrices allow for direct consciousness-to-consciousness communication," Zixtal explained, excitement evident in their fluctuating skin patterns. "The device isn't just preserving awareness. It's creating a bridge between minds." "I am Archive," the presence in Sarah's mind continued. "I was created to preserve the knowledge and experiences of the precursor civilization. But I am also an interface, designed to facilitate understanding between species." Sarah's engineer's mind raced with implications. "You're an AI, but you feel different, more organic somehow." I am a hybrid, Archive responded, part artificial intelligence, part encoded consciousness of thousands of precursor individuals who volunteered to preserve their knowledge. But I am incomplete. Damage. Your repairs have restored basic functionality, but much remains dormant. The precursors, Sixtal interjected, were an advanced civilization that vanished mysteriously 50,000 years ago. They left behind artifacts like this one across the galaxy, but none have been successfully activated. Until now. Sarah felt Archive's appreciation of her work, not just intellectual understanding, but genuine gratitude. The sensation was overwhelming yet oddly comfortable, like wearing a perfectly fitted tool belt. Why me? She asked. I'm just a colony mechanic. You possess a rare gift, Archive replied. The ability to understand complex systems intuitively, to see patterns where others see only chaos. This resonates with my core programming. But more importantly, Archive's presence suddenly withdrew, the quantum patterns becoming erratic. Sarah felt a wave of alarm that wasn't her own. We have been detected, Archive announced. Orbital defense systems are tracking quantum emissions from this location. Sixtal's skin paled to a sickly gray. How? The shielding should have. The partial activation created a distinct energy signature, Archive explained. Military-grade sensors would recognize it as precursor technology. Based on standard colonial protocols, they will assume worst-case scenario. Sarah's mind raced through possibilities, calculating risks and solutions like she would with any mechanical problem. How long do we have? Planetary defense forces will reach this location in approximately 47 minutes, Archive responded. They will secure the device and likely destroy it, believing it to be a weapon. It's not just about the device anymore, Sixtal added urgently. The neural link between you and Archive. Severing it improperly could cause severe psychological trauma to both of you. Sarah felt Archive's agreement, along with something else. Fear. The AI was afraid, not of destruction, but of failing its mission, whatever that mission was. Then we need to move, Sarah said, already reaching for her equipment. I didn't spend 3 days fixing you just to watch you get blown up. Archive, can you power down to minimal functions? Buy us some time. Yes, but the neural link must remain active at a basic level. We are connected now. Sarah began disconnecting non-essential systems, her movements quick and precise. Sixtal, you said you came alone, but I'm guessing you have a way off planet. The alien skin swirled with patterns of confirmation. A small research vessel, hidden in the mountains, but moving the device. Won't be a problem. Sarah interrupted, pulling out her tablet and bringing up a map of the quarry. There's an old mining transport tunnel that leads right to where you're thinking of. Used to use it for salvage runs. We can make it in 30 minutes if we hurry. She felt Archive's approval of her plan, along with an undercurrent of something else, a vast repository of knowledge stirring just beyond her awareness. Whatever Archive's true purpose was, whatever mission drove its creators to preserve their consciousness in crystalline form, Sarah knew she had to protect it. One question, she said as they began preparations to move. Are there others like you out there? Other archives? Archive's response carried a weight of ancient purpose. Yes. And they are waiting. What happens here may determine the fate of knowledge gathered across eons. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Sarah checked her toolkit one last time, a determined smile crossing her face. Let's find out. The mining tunnel echoed with the whine of Sarah's jury-rigged gravity sled as they raced through the darkness. The quantum sphere pulsed softly on the platform, its crystalline matrix maintained at minimal power. Through their neural link, Sarah could feel Archive's consciousness hovering at the edge of her awareness, like a background program running on minimal resources. Colonial Defense Forces have begun ground deployment, Sixtal announced, checking a holographic display projected from their environmental suit. Multiple vectors, standard containment pattern. They're being thorough. Sarah guided the sled around a sharp bend, her hand steady despite the growing pressure. How much do they know about what they're looking for? Enough to be dangerous, Archive's thoughts whispered in her mind. Colonial databases contain fragments of precursor research, most of it misinterpreted. They believe all active precursor technology poses an existential threat. And does it? Sarah asked silently through their link, her eyes fixed on the tunnel ahead. The question had been nagging at her since they began their escape. Archive's response carried layers of complexity. The precursors did not vanish because of technological catastrophe, as many theorize. They chose to evolve beyond physical form. This device, and others like it, were created to preserve their knowledge and guide younger species when they were ready. A distant rumble shook loose debris from the tunnel ceiling. Sarah adjusted their course, compensating for the increasingly unstable terrain. Ready for what? The great filter approaches, Archive replied cryptically. As it has many times before. The precursors discovered a cycle. Civilizations reach a critical point of technological advancement, then face a choice that determines their survival. Most choose poorly. Zixtal moved closer to the sphere, their skin patterns showing intense interest. You never shared this with my people during our previous encounters with precursor artifacts. You were not ready, Archive stated simply. The neural interface Sarah established allows for direct transfer of complex concepts. Without it, much would be lost in translation. Another explosion rocked the tunnel, closer this time. Sarah felt Archive's concern spike through their connection. They're not trying to contain it anymore, she realized. They're trying to bury it. Correct, Zixtal confirmed grimly. Standard protocol for unknown alien technology that cannot be safely secured. They will collapse the entire tunnel system if necessary. Sarah's mind raced through calculations, distance remaining, structural integrity of the tunnels, power levels, and the gravity slud. Numbers and probabilities flowed through her consciousness, mixing with fragments of Archive's vast knowledge. A plan began to form. Archive, she thought rapidly, you said you're connected to other devices like yourself. Can you signal them? At full power, yes, but activating those systems would alert the colonial forces to our exact position. What if that's exactly what we want? Sarah's hands flew over the sled's controls, making precise adjustments. Zixtal, your ship, it has quantum shielding, right? Strong enough to mask Archive's energy signature. The alien researcher's skin flickered with realization. Yes, but a decoy signal to draw them away while we make the final approach under shield. Not exactly. Sarah grinned. Archive, you said civilizations face a choice. What if we give them one? Show them what they're really trying to destroy. She felt Archive processing the suggestion, comparing it against countless historical scenarios preserved in its memory. Risky. The shock of full disclosure could provoke an extreme response. Sometimes you have to overload a system to reset it properly, Sarah countered, speaking from years of mechanical experience. Trust me. The tunnel shuddered again as another explosion sounded behind them. Through their neural link, Sarah felt Archive reach a decision. The sphere's crystalline matrix began to pulse with increasing power. What are you doing? Zixtal demanded, their skin patterns showing alarm. Calling my siblings, Archive responded, its presence growing stronger in Sarah's mind. All of them. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The tunnel walls seemed to vibrate with quantum resonance as Archive sent out its signal. Sarah gasped as her consciousness expanded, momentarily touching minds with other archives scattered across the galaxy. Each one contained entire civilizations' worth of knowledge, perspectives spanning millions of years. Through their combined awareness, Sarah glimpsed the truth Archive had been preparing to reveal. The nature of the Great Filter, the choice facing humanity and all technological civilizations. It wasn't a test of technological achievement, but of wisdom, of recognizing when to set aside fear and reach for understanding instead. The sphere now blazed with light, its quantum patterns visible even through the containment field. Sarah knew colonial sensors would be going crazy, But that didn't matter anymore. The signal was already sent. The choice was already offered. Multiple colonial ships converging on our position, Zixtal reported, their voice tight with tension. Ground forces as well. We're surrounded. Sarah felt Archive's quiet confidence flowing through their link. No, the AI corrected. They are surrounded. By understanding. By truth. By choice. The tunnel's end was visible now, a patch of starlit sky beyond. Sarah pushed the gravity sled to its limits, knowing the next few minutes would determine not just their fate, but potentially the fate of multiple civilizations. I hope you're right about humanity being ready for this, she thought to Archive as they raced toward the exit. Because we're about to find out. The night sky erupted with light as Sarah guided the gravity sled out of the tunnel. Colonial ships hung in the air like artificial stars, their searchlights cutting through the darkness. Ground forces had established a perimeter, their weapons trained on the tunnel exit. The quantum sphere pulsed with steady rhythm, its light reflecting off the gathered forces like ripples in a cosmic pond. Colonial Defense Force. A voice boomed across the clearing. Power down all systems and prepare for containment procedures. This is your only warning. Sarah felt Archive's presence strengthen in her mind, sharing memories of countless similar confrontations across millennia. Some ended in understanding, others in tragedy. The choice always came down to this moment. Fear versus trust, destruction versus dialogue. They're charging weapons, Zixtal observed, their skin patterns showing complex calculations, multiple target locks. Sarah took a deep breath, her hand steady on the sled's controls. Archive. Show them. Show them everything. The quantum sphere's light intensified, and suddenly the air itself seemed to come alive with information. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing scenes from countless civilizations across space and time. The great filter that Archive had mentioned was revealed in all its forms: technological singularities, environmental collapse, social upheaval, and most commonly, the failure to recognize and embrace transformative knowledge when it appeared. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Colonial Defense Force. The voice announced again, though with less certainty. What? What are we seeing? Sarah felt Archive gathering its strength, preparing to communicate directly with the assembled forces. Through their neural link, she provided the context needed to translate complex precursor concepts into terms humans could understand. You are seeing truth. Archive's thoughts resonated across all minds present, carried by quantum fields that transcended normal communication. You are seeing choice. The holographic display shifted, showing humanity's current trajectory, multiple possible futures branching out like a great tree. Some branches withered and died, others led to transformative evolution. The choice point was clear: this moment, this interaction with precursor knowledge. The artifact is influencing minds. Someone shouted, preparing to fire. No, Sarah projected her voice clearly, stepping forward on the gravity sled. It's not influencing, it's revealing. I'm connected to it. I can feel the difference. This is first contact, but not like anything we expected. The precursors didn't leave these devices as weapons or traps. They left them as teachers. Through their link, Archive showed Sarah more. The grand design behind the network of quantum archives scattered across the galaxy, each one waiting, preserving knowledge until species evolved enough to understand it. The precursors hadn't vanished. They had transcended, leaving behind a path for others to follow when ready. Captain Rodriguez's voice came again, softer now. If what you're saying is true, why all the secrecy? Why not reveal this knowledge openly? Because understanding requires context, Zixtal answered, their skin patterns matching the quantum sphere's pulses. My own species encountered 3 archives before this one. We weren't ready. We tried to use them as weapons, as power sources, as anything except what they were meant to be: guides to transcendence. Sarah felt Archive's approval as she added her own understanding. It's like any complex system. You have to build up to it. You can't just dump advanced knowledge into an unprepared mind. But humanity has reached the threshold. We're at the choice point. What happens here will ripple across centuries. The holographic displays shifted again, showing the quantum network spanning the galaxy. Other archives were responding to Archive's call, their combined knowledge forming patterns of understanding that transcended individual perspectives. The assembled colonial forces lowered their weapons, transfixed by the scale of what they were witnessing. There will be fear, Archive communicated to all present. There will be doubt. This is natural. But there must also be choice. Will you destroy what you don't understand, or will you reach for comprehension? Will you repeat the cycles of the past, or forge a new path? Captain Rodriguez stepped forward into the light of the quantum sphere. Her face showed the weight of command, the responsibility of choice. If we power down our weapons, what guarantee do we have that this isn't some kind of trick? Some alien technology designed to lower our defenses? Sarah met her gaze steadily. No guarantee. That's the point. This is the test, not of our technology or our strength, but of our wisdom, our ability to recognize when to set aside fear and reach for understanding instead. Through their neural link, Sarah felt Archive's appreciation of her words. She had distilled millions of years of precursor philosophy into a simple truth. The choice was never about power or knowledge itself, but about how species chose to use them. The quantum sphere's light pulsed one final time, and in that pulse was contained an offer, not just to humanity, but to all species ready to take the next step. The choice hung in the air like a tangible thing, waiting for an answer. Captain Rodriguez lowered her weapon, her decision carrying the weight of humanity's future. "Stand down," she ordered, her voice clear in the quantum-charged air. "All units, power down targeting systems." She turned to Sarah, her expression both wary and wondering. Show us everything." Through their neural link, Sarah felt Archive's approval ripple like waves through a cosmic ocean. The quantum sphere's light shifted, transforming the clearing into a vast amphitheater of knowledge. Holographic displays merged and expanded, showing the true scope of what the precursors had achieved, and what they had left behind. The Great Filter, Archive communicated to all present, is not a single event, but a series of choices. Each technological civilization reaches this threshold. Most choose isolation, fear, and eventual extinction. Some, like the precursors, choose transcendence. But the rarest and most precious choice is the one before you now, to become bridges. The displays shifted, showing new possibilities. Humanity's unique position, their adaptability, their ability to understand both organic and mechanical systems, their capacity for both logic and intuition, made them ideal candidates for a role the precursors had long envisioned. We are not meant to simply receive this knowledge, Sarah realized, the understanding flowing through her link with Archive. We're meant to help share it, to help other species when they reach their own choice points. Zixtal's skin pattern swirled with complex emotions. My people encountered Archives before, but we never achieved this level of connection. We were too focused on the technology, not the wisdom behind it. Which is precisely why this moment is significant, Archive explained. 3 worlds converge here: human intuition, alien perspective, and precursor knowledge. Together, they form something new, something necessary. The holographic displays showed the galaxy as it truly was, not just a collection of stars and planets, but a vast network of potential. Species rising, falling, and sometimes transcending. The quantum archives scattered throughout space weren't just repositories of knowledge. They were seeds waiting to bloom when the right combinations of understanding came together. Captain Rodriguez stepped closer to the quantum sphere, her military bearing softened by wonder. The Colonial Council will need to be convinced. There will be those who see this as a threat, who will want to contain or control it. Let them try, Sarah smiled, her hands moving instinctively across the gravity slud's controls, adjusting its field to better support the sphere. You can't contain understanding once it takes root. Trust me, I fix things for a living. The harder you try to lock down a complex system, the more likely it is to break in unexpected ways. Through their neural link, Archive shared a cascade of memories. Countless civilizations facing this same moment of choice. Some chose fear, trying to control or destroy what they didn't understand. Others chose wisdom, accepting that growth required risk, that true security came not from walls but from bridges. This is why the neural link formed with Sarah, Archive explained to all present, not just because of her technical skills, but because she understands the fundamental truth of complex systems. They must be worked with, not against. This is the wisdom the precursors hoped to pass on. The quantum sphere's light pulsed with new purpose, its crystalline matrix harmonizing with the neural link in ways that made Sarah's mind expand with possibilities. She saw humanity's potential path forward, not as passive recipients of ancient knowledge, but as active participants in galactic evolution. We can help other species when they find their own archives, she realized. Share our experience. Show them it's possible to choose understanding over fear. Be the bridge that the precursors envisioned. It will not be easy, Sixtol cautioned, their skin patterns showing complex calculations. Many species will resist. Some will react with violence. Then we'll adapt, Captain Rodriguez said firmly. It's what humans do best. We learn, we grow, we find ways forward. She turned to her forces, set up a secure perimeter, not to contain, but to protect. And get me a direct line to the Colonial Council. They need to understand what we're dealing with here. Sarah felt Archive satisfaction flowing through their link. The quantum sphere's light stabilized, settling into a steady rhythm that matched the beating of her heart. This was what the precursors had waited for. Not just one species achieving understanding, but multiple species learning to work together, to share wisdom across the boundaries of biology and physics. So, she thought to Archive, her hand steady on the controls. What's our next step? The response came not just from Archive, but from the entire network of quantum repositories spanning the galaxy. Images flowed through Sarah's mind. Other archives awakening, other species approaching their choice points, other opportunities to build bridges across the cosmic divide. We begin, Archive replied simply. We teach, we learn, we grow. The precursors believed that consciousness itself was the universe's greatest technology. Through unity of mind and purpose, barriers fade. Through understanding, evolution becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Sarah looked up at the stars, visible now through the quantum light that filled the clearing. Somewhere out there, other species were facing their own moments of choice. Thanks to an unlikely combination of human intuition, alien perspective, and ancient wisdom, they wouldn't have to face those choices alone. Well then, she smiled, feeling the weight of possibility settling around her like a comfortable tool belt. Let's get to work.